Welcome once again to the complete free Flutter course presented by yours truly, Ovidus Mansurum. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to build upon everything we've done so far and add quite a lot more widgets to slowly build up an app, which I got from dribble.com. For anyone that doesn't know, dribble.com is this website, and it's where a whole bunch of designers can put a lot of their designs and things like that. So I was looking at this a couple days ago when I started building this app, and I just took one of the apps from the first row, I believe it was, and that was this one. I downloaded the image, and I chose this one because it's relatively simple. Some apps have quite a lot of things, but this one, we only need a couple more widgets to build to fully build it. At the same time, it's a great introduction to a lot of new widgets, such as, in this video we'll go over the app bar, we'll go over these icon buttons, later we'll go over images and that kind of thing. So let us jump in. I just have a brand new project here, which personally I called, I think it's tutorial 3.6. Let me double check. Yes, tutorial 3.6, but you can call it anything you'd like. So far I just have the default starting project with my emulator open on the side. So I'm just gonna Control A to select all of it and delete everything, then InPM to import material. So this is going to be my main.dart. Here I'm going to say void main, and I'll use an arrow function for run app and my app. Put the semicolon there. My app of course doesn't exist yet. So then we're going to say STL for stateless widget, my app. There we go. And here, rather than returning a container, we'll start with a material app. Then inside the material app, we're going to have a home of a safe area. So I'm going to put this one on the outside this time. And I'll give safe area a child of home screen, which of course doesn't exist yet. Put a comment there, and then Control B to open up this side panel. Then on lib I'm gonna right click new folder, and I'm gonna name my new folder screens, and then in here new file home _ screen.dart, and of course this is gonna hold my home screen. So InPM for my material import, STL for my stateless widget. I'm just gonna call it home screen. Going to save it, so now I can import it here and fix my import. There's nothing to fix, and now I'm going to reload this, and it should come back as a black screen because there's nothing here. Another thing I'm going to do while I'm over here, if we see this debug banner, normally I don't really mind it, but in this case, because we're trying to copy this design quite carefully, I do think it's going to get in the way. So we can get rid of that a few different ways. The easiest way is just this way. Inside our material app, we're going to say debug show checked mode banner, and we're just going to put false over here. So if we refresh this, you're going to see that's gone. Okay, so we're not going to touch main.dart anymore. From now on, we're inside our home screen. And in our home screen, we're just going to return a scaffold. And you will notice this time I put the scaffold inside my separate home screen. I did not put it inside main.dart. That's fine. And for the first time, we're actually going to do something more useful with the scaffold. In particular, we're going to give it an app bar. And the app bar hasn't been created yet. What we're going to do is make a function rather than a new widget, and the function is going to return a widget, and I'm going to call this my app bar, and what this is going to return is an app bar. And as you guys can guess, the app bar is going to be this thing at the top. And why don't I first show you guys what the default app bar looks like. So if I save it like this, the default app bar is going to be the default theme color, which is usually this kind of blue. It's going to have a bit of a shadow over here from the elevation, and normally has a title over here. If you're on the first page, there's no button here. But if you're on any other page afterwards, it's going to have a back button here. But I don't want any of that stuff. I want to make this fully custom, fully my own. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if we look here, I want it to have a background color of white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say colors.white for, I think this should be background color. Yeah. And instead of returning an appbar here, I'm going to return my appbar. So this is running the function here. I'm going to do that, and now you can see I have white as my background color, but now it has that shadow, so I can still see where it is, and I don't necessarily want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit elevation. Elevation affects how big that shadow is. I'm going to put elevation on 0. Refresh that, and now that's gone. We can't see that. Great. So that looks a lot better already. Let's take a quick look at this image we're copying from. So you can see in their app bar they have a button here and another button here. So this one we can get on our app bar with leading. Leading is just going to give us a widget on this side here. And for my leading, what I'm going to do, so these are called IconButtons because they're small buttons which, you know, they only contain an icon. So I'm going to say IconButton like this, and IconButton has a property called icon, and icon is going to take an icon widget, and icon widget is going to take icons dot, and then after the dot you can write the name of the icon, and you can get all of your icons. If I go back to my browser, material icons, if you just Google for material icons, Flutter uses material design by default, so material.io has a lot of information like the default colors and all that stuff. So by just Googling material icons, you can get all of the icons. And we want some kind of menu book, not this one. Restaurant menu, yeah, this one. I don't have an icon which is identical to what they have, but this is quite close, so I'm just going to use this. So back to my VS Code, I'm going to say icons.menu here, save that, and notice this is giving me a warning. The parameter onPressed is required because, of course, it is a button, so buttons are supposed to do something. But in these next few videos, we're just building the UI, so it's not actually going to do anything. So as a result, I'm just going to say onPressed, and I'm just going to give it an arrow function where it prints menu pressed. Of course, you could also just give it an empty function. That would also work. It would get rid of the warning. So I'm going to refresh this, and we can look here. We don't see anything, do we? Well, what if we try changing the color of the icon? So if we go in here to icons, I can give it a color of, and I'll start with colors.black just so we can see it. Refresh it, and now we can see it. So that was the problem. The icon started with white color, or maybe I just didn't reload it. I'm not sure which one it was. Maybe I didn't save it. But yeah, now we can see it. But if we look back here, we don't want a black color. We want this dark kind of pink. So what I've done is I've opened up my Firefox and I went to Google and I just typed in something like get color code from image or something like that. And I got to this website, Image Color Picker. It was just the first result on Google. And then what I've done is I've uploaded that image, and this is giving me the palette from the image I uploaded. And you can see this is the color I want. It's the same as the one over here. And it gives me the hex code, and the one I want is the RGB code over here. So I'm going to click here to copy it. And what I'm going to do back in my VS Studio, I know I'm going to use this color quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a map of colors. What a map is, it's kind of like the lists that we had previously, but a map gives us a key rather than just a position. So, you know, in a list I could have like 1, 2, 3, something like this. A map gives me something like 1 is 1, 2 is 2, or something like that, so on. It gives me a key and a value which is attached to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have color, and I'm going to start with const color, my colors equals, open and close these curly brackets. This is what makes it a map rather than a list. I'm going to put my semicolon at the end, and then I'm going to have primary colon and then color, and you saw that came up from RGB0 actually. And now I'm just going to take the code from here. So 226 for the R, the G is 115, the blue is 138, and the last one, they don't give it to us here. The O in RGBO is opacity, and an opacity of 1 means fully visible, opacity of 0 means fully transparent, we can't see it. So in this case I want to use 1, and I'm going to put a comma at the end. So now what I can do is I can say my colors, so this is getting this map from here, and then I can put those square brackets like in a list, but inside, instead of giving a number to get the position, I can use the key that I have here, primary, and save it. And actually I don't need the colors here, I can get rid of this. That's why it's giving me an error. That was my mistake. So the correct type is map, and then the type of the key, which is a string, and then the type of the value. So my colors is a map whose keys are strings and whose values are colors. And another really good thing to do here is, you see this? I had to type this out over here, but what would happen if I was bad at spelling and I just got it wrong like this, and I saved it and I refreshed? Well, now when I go here, it's not finding that value, but it's not giving me a warning, it's not giving me an error or anything like that. So it can be really difficult to find this. In this case, it's obviously wrong, so we can see that it's wrong. But if the spelling mistake is a bit more subtle, you could check this, and you might not really get what's happening. So one really good thing to do would be to write const primary, so I'm going to write that in all caps, equals, and then just set that to the string primary. And now I'm going to copy this and put that here. So now I'm not using an actual string, well, I am using an actual string, but I'm using the constant variable primary as the key. So here I'm going to put the constant variable primary, and I don't have those double quotes around, so you can see it's not a string. I mean, it is a string, but it's a variable which holds a string. And now if I refresh this, you're going to see it's going to show correctly. But the really nice thing about this is that if I do make a spelling mistake, something like this, it's going to give me an error, undefined name, whatever. And because it gives me an error and I can see, oh, it's an undefined name, straight away I know, oh, I spelled this wrong. So that way I can fix it. On the other hand, if I'm just copying strings around and I make a mistake, it can be really difficult to find. So this is a good thing to do. I'm just going to save this. And then we have this one. So now that I have a map which is holding different colors and is holding my primary color, I probably want to hold my white color as well, just so that I'm using the same variable everywhere. I don't want to use colors.white in some places and my colors in other places. So as a result, I'm going to say const white equals white. So a new constant variable, which is called capital white, equals the string white. And then I'm going to say white colors.white. And I'm just going to change this to my colors white. And the reason I'm doing this is just so it's the same over here. It's not a good habit to have one type of variable in one place, a different type of variable in other places. So that's fine. And if we refresh it, we can see that nothing has actually happened. Okay, so there's that. And if we look back here, I think this is a bit bigger and it has a bit more padding than my one has. There's more space around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control Dot on my icon button, and I'm going to use a new widget here, which is called padding. And what padding does, as you can guess, is it puts padding, white space, around some item. And the padding takes a edge inset geometry, which is a bit confusing, but don't worry too much about what that means. We'll just write const edge insets dot, and then we have a few different options, all from LTRB, from window padding, only, symmetric. The ones you'll use most often are probably all or only, and in this case I'm going to use only, and I want padding here and here. So when you use edge insets.only, you can specify which sides you want the padding to be on. So I'll say top and I'll give it 15, and left and 15. Control Shift I, save and refresh. See how that looks? Maybe it's better. We'll try again a bit later as well. Okay, the other thing we can do is this looks a bit smaller than it should. So inside my icon widget, notice how I gave it a color. I can also give it a size. So why don't I try a size of 30? Does that look better? Maybe, maybe not. When working with UIs, it's quite common to fiddle around with values a lot. You know, change the size a little bit, see how it looks, maybe make it smaller, maybe make it bigger, and that kind of stuff, which is, it's interesting. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. So that is the menu button. And now I also wanted to have this other button on the other side, the hourglass. So this was leading, we had here. To get the buttons at the end, we have a different option called actions. And the reason it's plural is because I can put as many buttons as I want at the end. But at the beginning, I can put a single widget. Of course, your single widget could be a row with a lot of things, but yeah, actions is automatically a group of widgets. And here I'm going to do a similar thing as before. I'm going to use an icon button. And for my onPressed, I'm just going to give it a arrow function like before, print search pressed, just so that doesn't give me a warning. And then for my icon, I'm going to give it an icon widget, and my icon widget is going to take an icons dot, and I believe it's search. Yes. You see, VS Code is also very helpful in that it's going to try to find what I'm looking for me. So if I type SE, that comes up straight away. So I can put that, and it also shows me in the sidebar over here what it's going to look like. So now I have my search icon. I'm going to use the same color as the other one. So my colors, primary, and then size 30. Control Shift I to format it nicely for me. I'm going to put another comma here, save and refresh. And it looks okay, but I do want a bit of padding like I had over here. So I'm going to control click, wrap with widget. I'm going to use the padding widget, and I'm going to give it a padding of const add insets dot, I'll use only, top 15 and right 15. See how that looks? Yeah, I think that looks a bit better. When the rest of the page is built, we can take another look at it and decide if we want to change it or if we don't want to change it. But for now, we're gonna leave this as it is. There's only one more thing we have to do here. You might not be able to tell just from looking at this, but my app bar currently doesn't have the correct height, because now that I've given a padding on either side, especially at the top, my icons are pushed all the way to the bottom. And in fact, let me show what I mean. If I give my scaffold a color of Actually, I'll just do primary color. My color is primary. And I save it. And this should be background color rather than color. Yeah, so now you can see this is pushed up a bit too close to the edge of the app bar. I don't really like that. So I want to make my app bar a bit bigger. And the way I'm going to do that is click on app bar, control click here, wrap with widget. And I'm going to use a preferred size widget. And then if we hover over preferred size, we can see it takes a preferred size. And then I can say size dot from height, and let's try a height of 60, see how it looks. Maybe 70. See how it looks. Yeah, I think this is a bit better with 70. And when we have the rest of the page built, well, we can decide then if we want to change anything. But for now, I'm going to move this background color to the other side, because I do think the app bar should come first. And this preferred size is the reason why I had to make my app bar a function rather than a widget like usual. To make a long story short, if you do try to make app bar into a widget, it's a bit more complicated than making other widgets because you need to implement or extend preferred size, and then it gets to all kinds of complications. So I think it's much easier just for the app bar to just make it as a function and not worry about all these things. Okay guys, so I don't want to make this video too long because, as I said, we are going to have a lot to go over. So we're going to do a real quick review. In this video, we went over just this top app bar here, and we went over the icon buttons on either side. And we also talked a little bit about this kind of thing, best practices, using constant variables and having a map at the top for the colors. Now in the future, we're going to move my colors to the theme data, but let's not jump ahead. In the next video, we're going to build the layout over here to make this container and this container. And later still, we're going to build all the pictures, and it's just going to be amazing. But for now, we're just going to end here. So thank you so much for being here. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And in the meantime, myself, Avidius, I'm out.